the lender sets up a repayment plan that details the payment amount, interest they are charging, interest rate they are charging, and the number of months you have to repay the loan. Now, like I talked about for credit card, never pay the minimum, never. Same thing for loans. That $30,000 car, remember we talked about it. That $30,000 car, you went in and had a $5,000 down payment, you're financing $25,000. Okay. They tell you it's going to be 60 months at 10% interest, and they show you what the payments are going to be. Okay. Now, say the payment is $150, but you can afford $200 or $250. It's always better to pay the extra, because by paying the extra, you pay it off sooner. By paying it off sooner, you pay them less interest money. So it's cheaper. Okay. Always when you have a loan, always when you use credit, it's going to cost you more for this object if you bought it for cash. So you want to minimize how much extra it costs you. Okay. You want to minimize how much extra it costs you by paying extra every chance you get. Okay, every chance you get, pay extra. These details are called terms of the loan. Okay. These details are called terms of the loan. Okay. Typically, a personal loan is paid back in 24 to 72 months. Now, normal humans don't necessarily talk about months, do we? Okay. Do we count our life in months? Do you say that you're, 117 months old? No. How do we normally track our lives? We do it in years. So the banks always do it in months because that's how you're paying them every month. Okay, every month. So they tell you 24 to 72 months. But what does that mean in terms of years? What does that mean in terms of years? 24 to 72 months. How many years is 24 months? How many years is 72 months? How many months are in 1 year? So you could divide the number. How many months are in 1 year? 12. So if I take the 24 and I take the 72 and I divide them by 12, how many years are you paying on the loan? $24 months is the same thing as saying how many years? $24 divided by 12. What do we get? 2 years. Okay, to 6 years. Now, when we actually put it in terms of years, that feels like a long time. But in terms of financing, it's really not a long time. But if you can, like I said, maybe the payment was $150, but you could afford $250. By paying that extra $100 in every month, you pay it off. You could pay it off a whole year early. That's a lot of money saved. A lot of money saved. Okay. Now, with it, a part of each payment pays for interest, and part pays off the money borrowed. So when you pay that $150, it's not paying back the $25,000. A part of it is paying off the $25,000, but only a part of it is paying off the $25,000. Okay, so that's why it's really important to be paying extra every chance you get, so more goes towards the $25,000 than their pocket, the interest. All right. Okay, so we're backing it up to here. Okay, the personal loan process. Okay, the personal loan process. Step one. Complete an application asking for the loan. They're going to make you sign legal papers, okay, asking for the loan. Now, some lenders may require a co-signer if the person asking for the loan has poor credit history or no credit history. Okay, so this is what that means. You are new borrowers, all of you. Okay, you don't necessarily have a credit history unless you've had a job and you got yourself a simple credit card already. But I think most of you have not done that, right? So you don't necessarily have credit history. And because you don't have credit history, the bank is like, well, I don't know about lending money to you because you haven't proven yourself worthy. Remember, that's what our credit history tells us. Our credit history tells the bank that we're worthy of them trusting us with their money, because it's their money that they're giving us. Okay. So sometimes they might say, okay, you need a co-signer. So a co-signer is a person who agrees to have the loan in their name also and agrees to pay back the loan if the original person doesn't pay. For the most part, that would be mom and dad. But there's a little catch to this cosigner thing. And I'm going to put it in capitals. Be very careful if you decide to be another person's co-signer. Oops, that shouldn't be that. Person's co-signer. because two things. First, it goes on your credit report and towards, that's not how you spell that, your credit history if they don't pay. Okay. Second, yes, I'm still doing the capital letters because this is a huge point. Second, you have to pay if they don't. You get stuck for the money. So be very careful who you co-sign for. You need to make sure you super duper trust that person, because that they're going to make good financial decisions, that they're not going to go ahead and overspend and then they can't pay the loan. Okay? Because if they can't pay it, you do. And they get to have the thing. So if you co-signed for a friend on the car because their credit history was only so-so and they wanted a co-signer and you're trusting them, they drove away with that car. They could decide to mess you over if they're not as good a friend as you think, and drive away with the car, not make the payments. You get stuck with a credit report that's less than, or in order to protect your credit report, you pay for the car they're driving. Not a good plan. So be very, very careful. That's why I put that in capital letters. That's a super duper careful, okay? Going back to normal stuff. Applications. Oops, I don't want to be capitals anymore. Application for the loan will always require proof of income. Okay, will always require proof of income, and they will require that you allow them to check your credit report. So that's going to go on as a hard inquiry on your credit report because you're asking for a loan. It does impact their credit history as well if they default on that loan, because it's in both of your names. So it's on their credit report as a loan and on yours as a loan. Problem is, they're going to ditch on the loan. They probably don't care about their credit history, right? They're less than likely to be caring about their credit history if they're going to ditch on that loan. Yeah? All right. So that's all step one. Back up. Step two. Step two. Approval. That's what it's going to be. Process. Oh, status. Sorry, not process. The approval status. Okay. The approval status goes like this. If approved, they will, it's not a period, they will create the legal documents for the loan. Okay. They'll create the legal documents for the loan, which include the terms of the loan, that will include you know how you have it on the tip of your head? Oh yeah, the maturity date for the loan. When are you done? When is the loan going to be fully paid off? Now, that's assuming you only pay according to their guidelines, remember? And if you pay extra, you could pay it off sooner, and paying it off sooner is better than nothing. Okay. It also has like legal ways to dispute any issues. Okay. Now, here's the catch. Especially for cars. In California, there is no lemon law. That means as soon as you drive it off the lot, you're stuck for it. You cannot bring it back. Now, some of the other loans, like home loans and things like that, you have a window to think about it and back out, not on cars. Okay, so be careful when you buy a car on loan. You don't have a window to back out. You do for the houses and you do for some other kinds of loans, but you don't for the cars. Okay. Okay. Here's another all capital ones. Watch out for teaser rates. Okay. Watch out for teaser rates when it comes to these loans, because teaser rates, watch out for teaser rates. Okay, just off the cuff, what do you think a teaser rate is? What do you think I mean by teaser rate? What do you think that means, a teaser rate? Before I define it, I want to see if you guys have some sort of idea what that might mean. Yeah, special offer. So these are temporary, lower rate, interest rates. Okay, temporary lower interest rates at the beginning of the loan. Okay. That last only a few months, and then the rate goes up a lot higher. Okay. So they could do that thing with the first 6 months, you only pay 8% interest. Make sure you read the clause, because you notice they said the phrase, the first 6 months, you only have the first 6 months, okay, well, so what am I paying after that first 6 months? A lot of times what they do to make up for that is you might have been able to get the loan at 12% and it would have stayed 12% the whole way, but they want to teaser you into it. So they offer it for like 8% for the first 6 months and then jump it to like 16% to make up for the money they lost. Okay. So watch out for those teaser rates on some of the things, because that means your payment's not going to stay the same the whole time. It's going to be lower interest, and then all of a sudden the interest is going to spike. Okay. However, lenders are required by law to tell you the real interest rate after all the deal is finished. Okay, so they have to tell you what the real interest rate is going to be once the deal is over. So it might be 8% for the first 6 months, and they spike it to 16% for the rest of the loan. They're required to tell you the real interest rate at the end of the deal. So the real interest rate for a loan is called annual percentage, I can spell it, rate. They abbreviate it APR. So you can make an informed decision. So like I said, they gave you 8% for that first 6 months. And then after that first 6 months for the rest of the 24-month loan, so that's another 18 months of time, they charge you 16%. They charge you 16%. Well, there is a calculation that'll make that one number. And more than likely that one number could be a higher rate than you could get with another lender. So sometimes, a lot of times these deals, these teaser rates will end up with a higher rate than what you could get by going to a different lender, okay? Yeah, teaser rates cost more than normal in the long run because they give you the low one for the certain amount, then they jump it to make for the difference. So when they calculate the APR, the real interest rate, it's usually higher than than what you could get from a different lender. Because remember, even when you go to like a car dealership and stuff, the car dealership will offer you their lender, but you can have already contacted your own bank and been pre-approved. So you can know your interest rate and stuff like that before you go. And I do heavily recommend doing that, you know, going and to your financial institution and seeing what they will offer you to pre-approve you. Then you know. So you go to your bank and your bank says, well, we'll offer you a loan at 11.5% for 36 months for a loan up to $30,000. Well, then you know when you go to the car dealership that the maximum you can get your loan for is $30,000. Well, you have $4,000 that you can put down. That means you can get the car that's $34,000. But one thing to worry about with cars, they have this thing called tax and license, and that's extra fees you have to pay on top of the car's cost. So if it's a $34,000 car, you could have another $7,000 in tax and license fees. So you need to keep that in mind when you're looking for cars and stuff. But we'll be talking more about cars later, but I just wanted you to get an idea a little bit about how that works, okay? So we're done with getting the personal loan process. Okay. Now we're going to talk about a couple different kinds of loans we can get. Okay. The first kind, oops, I want to go one more back, is called the secured loan. Okay. The first kind is called a secured loan. Okay. Secured loans are loans for a physical item. That's the house. That's the car. Okay. The motorcycle, the RV, things like that. Physical items. All right. Now, the loans for the physical items, if you don't pay, sorry, that if you don't pay, they will come take back the item, sell it to repay at least part of the loan, and you are responsible for any amount left. So you get the $34,000 car, and then you find out you can't end up making the car payments and stuff because you overstepped. You thought you could do it. Or life happened and you lost your job or whatever, right? So you don't make the payments. They come take the car back. They sell the car. Well, when they sell the car, it's never going to be enough to pay off the loan. It's never going to be enough to pay off the loan. Any difference left, you are still responsible for, even though you do not own the vehicle anymore. Okay? So, same thing with a house. You buy the house. You thought you could afford the house. Oh no, it turns out that you can't. You always want to make sure you're talking to your lenders when it's physical objects that you're getting on a loan. Because sometimes they can negotiate and work out with you, and especially during right now with this weirdness and people having their jobs and stuff because of COVID and stuff, they're making deals with people to help them keep their house, to help them keep their car, to help them keep their stuff, because this is not their fault. Okay. Poor financial decisions is different. Okay. So they will try and work with you to make it so that you could keep the object. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're willing to just take the object back and call it even. It's going to be dependent on you communicating with your lender. Okay. The situation where they take the object back, they take the item back, is called repossession when it comes to a car, or foreclosure when it comes to a house. Okay. This is because you cannot pay the payments, which is called in default. This situation is a big negative on your credit report and towards your credit history. Okay. Last little thing for this section. The item, house, car, motorcycle, stuff like that, is called collateral. Okay. So you're going to get a loan and they're going to ask you, what are you using for collateral? That means the house or the car. Okay. All right, so we're going to back up twice. Unsecured loans. Okay, unsecured loans. Loans, I can't spell today, with no collateral. In other words, no physical object that they are buying. Okay. What would be an example of something you need a loan for that doesn't have a physical object that's being bought? We talked about it earlier, and it's relating to some of you soon. No. What's something that some of you are going to potentially have to pay for soon that you might have to take a loan out for, but I don't recommend it if you can help it? Because your seniors, yes, education. This is the number one no collateral loan is for education. Okay. The number one no collateral loan is for education. Now, the deal with this though is it is based, approval is based only on your credit history. So, good credit history, yes, I did that in capitals on purpose, equals yes for the loan. Bad credit history will equal no for the loan, because they have nothing that they can take back. It's totally on your word, and your credit history is your word that you will pay it back. So if you have bad credit history, you have proven that you're not trustworthy. So they'll say no. Let's do it this way. So they'll say no. Good credit history, you've proven that you're trustworthy. So they'll say yes. All right? Because they have nothing to protect themselves with. They have nothing that they can come get from you. Okay? Anytime you're buying a physical object on a loan, they always have the ability to come get the object, get some of their money back, and so they feel safer. Now, obviously, if you have bad credit history, you're going to get a higher interest rate on your physical object loans. But they'll still loan it to you because they have the ability to come get the thing. All right, questions about that? We're going to go into purchasing a home tomorrow. Nope, tomorrow's the test. Thursday. And then we'll talk a little bit more about homes on Friday. And then come Monday, we'll start the cars. Okay. So we're going to go pretty in depth about the home and the car and everything like that. This chapter does happen to have several projects, and projects are 50% of your grade. So make sure you're doing the right thing for your projects. Okay, turn in your notes.